Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm looking at something we've already seen before. It is Star Optimus Prime from the Age of the Primes, one of the 13. But today I'm looking at him from a different perspective. Today I'm looking at him from the perspective of his base mode. Now, for the longest time I've been threatening to start doing something a bit more focused on bots that do bases, with a view that we take a look at that and give some consideration to how effective these bases actually are. Now, some of them are perhaps very effective, others might be a little bit less effective, but it's how do you measure something like this? So I've come up with 5 criteria for my base evaluations. 1, playability. How well is it for me or someone else to actually play with the base? Does it give you a sense of this is fun, this is something we can do, we can play with this? Number 2, interactivity. Can it engage with figures in the range, either directly in the range or with a little bit of imagination beyond the range? Number 3, levels. If it's a base, I want it to look like a base. I don't want it to just be a platform. I don't want it to just be a bunker. I don't want it to just be a door or a gun. I want it to have levels. I want it to be able to contain vehicles or hide things or allow figures to appear in different locations. Again, feeding into that sense of playability. And of course, interactivity. My 4th criteria is function. Does it have a purpose? Does it obviously have some kind of function that makes us go, yeah, I get what this is doing. I understand it. I like it. It makes sense in universe, or at least in the universe of my headcanon. And lastly, expanding from function, does it provide fun? Is it fun to mess with? Is it fun to play with? Is it fun to have around? I thought I'd kick off this series with this particular base mode because Star Optimus Prime has, for a variety of perfectly valid reasons, been a bit controversial. Now, you'll notice that I'm doing a sort of handheld, sort of steady cam approach to this, and that's because I want to be able to move around quite freely and look at the base from various different positions. That's probably how I'm going to approach these in the future. If you think that works, let me know in the comments. If you don't think it doesn't work, let me know in the comments, and I'll adjust accordingly. But for something like this, especially where there's quite a lot of real estate, it makes sense to me to be able to have a bit of fluidity and flexibility so that I can actually move around and look at the various things that are going on, assuming there is scope for various things to be going on. Now, one thing worth mentioning, and if you've seen my video on Star Optimus Prime overall, you'll know that this isn't the complete and a proper base mode for Star Optimus Prime. I've actually made some adjustments, mostly around not retransforming the hands because they're supposed to hold the weapons, and I just think that looked ridiculous, so I've chosen to not do that. I've also now elected to move this other arm pointing outwards so that it affords, certainly in this instance, Solus Prime somewhere to stand and give them a vantage point over the fighting and the attacking. You'll also see that for the purposes of this video, I have actually applied some of the blast effects into various elements of the playset. I'll call it a playset because it's a base mode, and a base mode should essentially be a playset. That's where the playability comes from. And I'm going to say for playability, despite some of the shortcomings of the figure, playability kind of works. Because I have got places, and this is going to link with interactivity because it kind of has to, folks. Because I've got I've got some of the other primes. So I've got Alchemist Prime here. We've got Solus Prime there. We've got Micromaster, not so micro, more like a core class, but Micromaster Hot Rod there. I've got down here Cerebros from the HasLab, the Omega Prime HasLab. He's staffing those guns, and these guns rotate so they can be aimed around, and they are also able to move up and down, so you can attack airborne Decepticons just as much as you can ground forces. What I would say is when you are moving this, because it's quite stiff, this tends to untab. Not great. So that's not the best thing that can happen. But that said, it is easily retabbed and then you're fine. It does come with some bays over here, and you can drive in. So shades of the old Metroplex. You can position some mini bots in there, so they can be medically dealt with. We've got Optimus Prime. I thought I'd give him an outing. He's sort of staffing this large proton cannon that I've attached here. It's barely holding on, if I'm honest. It should really be taking this, but this unfortunately pulls the weight of the whole cannon down if it's not in his hand. And there are, interestingly, for a range that is replete with ports, there is no other port where I can place this gun. So that's a bit of a shame from both the playability and the interactivity feature. That's a shame that this is, and it shouldn't really even go in there. That's just me cheating in order to get it in there. Does it have different levels? Well, it kind of does. It kind of does, because we've got this turret that's here. We've got these sections here, and then something that takes us down, sort of semi-subterranean, but, you know, we use our imaginations. So we can go subterranean there. We do have the different cannons on the top there. We have this chamber here, which admittedly at the moment is housing the Zodiac artifact, but can be replaced with a Micromaster such as a Hot Rod over here. We've got this section here which can be used by Hot Rod and others to park and escape, and there are further ramps that go up behind. Because I've fan moded it here, Solus has somewhere to stand, so if you've got the right sort of deluxe figure, they could probably stand on there. The ratchet is strong enough to support the weight of that. So there aren't many levels, but there are some. There are some. And again, headmasters like Cerebros there could probably stand up here behind the head-mounted cannons and keep a lookout there. Or you could probably get more inside that central chamber there, guarding the Zodiac. So in terms of function, this is where I'm not too sure what the function of this base is, because it does have a lot of offensive capabilities. But is it just a sort of repair bay? Is it somewhere Optimus can just sort of kick back, go into base mode, and let the fellow Autobots have a little rest? There weren't many fellow Autobots back in the day, were there? Because this would be in the age of the Primes, unsurprisingly. So perhaps it's more like a little nightclub for the Primes, and I've totally misread the whole situation. I don't know. Function is a bit lost on me. It could be a garage, it could be a repair bay, a recharge station, but it is, as we've seen, also a defensible platform. So it does have sufficient amounts of armaments to warrant it being a fully defensible Autobot stronghold. Which brings me to the last point, which is fun. Is it fun? Guys, I'm going to have to say yes. I'm surprising myself because I'm taking this just in the context of the base. I'm not taking this in any way, shape or form to do with anything to do with the figure. It's purely in terms of the base itself. And yes, it is, because you can have the figures interacting. You can have them in different positions. You can have them doing all sorts of things. You know, there's no right or wrong. It's entirely up to you with your imagination what happens and what you do. There's enough real estate, something I talked about in my other video on Prime. There's enough real estate here to give lots of figures lots of places to be and to keep them very busy, especially if you're doing photography, etc. So my answer to fun is yes, it is. So that's my sort of whistle-stop tour of Star Optimus Prime in his base mode. Do you agree with my findings against those 5 criteria? Do you think there is other criteria I should add? If so, let me know in the comments down below. If you've stuck around for the 10 minutes, please do give me a like. That would be fantastic. And also, if you haven't already, drop a subscription to the channel. Thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you in a future video. And please remember that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care. Bye-bye for now.